Just before you do, JBYD, navigating love at every stage. Relationships don't come with a manual, but they do have milestones. Whether you're nervously prepping for a first date, considering the talk, or navigating the complexities of a long-term marriage, the Just Before You Do, JBYD series is your companion for the journey. Join Tunda Disu, relationship coach on JBYD, as we dive into the intricacies of human connection. From the initial spark of the first meeting to the foundational work of marriage and the maintenance of a lifelong partnership. Let's tackle the hard questions designed to help you make that informed decisions before you take the next big step. Let us explore the why behind the behaviors and the how of building a love that lasts. So, before you swipe, before you commit, and before you walk down the aisle, watch and listen to JBYD just before you do. Thank you.
Usually when we talk about a medical diagnosis, there is this expectation of absolute precision.
Right, yeah. Like, it's entirely binary.
Exactly. You fall, you break your arm, you go to the hospital, the doctor clips an x-ray to the light box, points to that jagged white line in the bone and just says, "There it is."
Yeah, that's the problem. It is either broken or not broken.
Yeah.
You don't have to guess.
And you don't have to interpret the data, right?
Yeah.
But then you step into the world of human relationships and suddenly that x-ray machine is completely useless.
Oh, absolutely useless. The diagnostic landscape is just incredibly murky.
It really is. And so for you listening, that brings us to the core of today's deep dive. We're looking at how a couple goes from finishing each other's sentences, totally inseparable, to barely speaking.
And doing it without either of them noticing the actual shift, which is the terrifying part.
Right. So today, we're pulling the answers directly from Tunda Disu's work, specifically his notes and frameworks from Architecting Intimacy.
Which is just a brilliant breakdown of relational mechanics.
It really is. Our mission for this deep dive is to decode exactly how couples drown in what he calls unvoiced friction. And, more importantly, how you can fix it before the foundation cracks.
Yeah, catching it early is everything.
Definitely. There is this really profound quote from the text that perfectly sets the stage for us. It says, "Inseparability is a gift of nature. Longevity is a work of art."
That's a powerful way to frame it.
Okay, let's unpack this. Why do couples falsely believe their relationship is this self-sustaining perpetual motion machine?
Well, to understand why people fail to maintain a relationship later, we have to look at why they never felt the need to maintain it in the beginning.
Makes sense. Like, why put effort in if it just works?
Exactly. In that early inseparable stage, you are operating on high-octane emotional capital. It feels completely immune to decay.
Because of the honeymoon phase.
Right, but the framework calls it the anesthetic season, and it's a very real physiological state.
Wait, so we're talking about a literal chemical buffer here, not just like a metaphor for being in a really good mood?
No, it is a physiological reality. During this season, your brains are flooded with a heavy neurochemical cocktail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the big three are dopamine, oxytocin, and phenethylamine.
Okay, dopamine and oxytocin, I know. Dopamine is the reward circuit, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Dopamine creates the intense reward loop. Oxytocin builds the profound bonding. But the phenethylamine, that's the crucial one.
What does that one do?
It acts very much like an amphetamine.
Wait, really? Like a literal stimulant?
Yes. It's a natural stimulant. It is the exact reason why you can stay up until 3:00 a.m. talking to this new person, wake up for work at 6 a.m. and not even feel tired.
That is wild. You're practically wired on your own brain chemistry.
You are. And this chemical flood acts as an anesthetic to the bad stuff. It actively dulls the pain receptors associated with minor boundary crossings or irritations.
So it's literally masking the friction.
Think of how a local anesthetic works at the dentist. The drill is still grinding into the tooth, the friction is happening, but the nerve just isn't sending a distress signal.
Ah, so if your new partner is, say, incredibly messy, or they forget to call when they say they will.
The friction just doesn't register as a structural issue. Your brain is anticipating the next massive neurochemical hit, so it actively suppresses the annoyance.
You just sweep it away. It's like buying a house while wearing industrial noise-canceling headphones and thick rose-colored glasses.
That is a perfect analogy.
Right. You walk through the property, you see the beautiful natural light, you admire the countertops, but you don't hear the active freight train tracks literally right next door.
No, you completely miss it.
Or notice the violently squeaky floors, not until, like, a year later when the batteries in those headphones die and you finally take the glasses off.
And what's fascinating here is the biological why behind those headphones dying.
Why do they die? Why can't we just stay in that state forever?
Because the human brain simply cannot maintain that level of high-octane infatuation indefinitely without burning out its own receptors.
Oh, so it's a survival mechanism?
Exactly. Your nervous system is designed for homeostasis. It has to return to baseline. If you stayed in that heightened state of arousal forever, your body would exhaust itself.
That makes a lot of sense.
So somewhere between month 6 and year 2, the chemical tide has to go out. It's an unavoidable physiological shift. The anesthetic wears off.
And the freight train comes roaring through the living room.
Yes.
Suddenly, the fact that they never close a cabinet door isn't a cute little quirk anymore. It's like a sign of deep disrespect.
Right. But the partners haven't suddenly become incompatible. The fundamental nature of the messy cabinets or the forgotten phone calls hasn't changed at all.
It's just the perception that changed.
Exactly. The only thing that changed is the chemistry of the person observing it. They just finally woke up to the reality of the structure they are living in.
Completely stripped of the chemical buffer, and this is the moment of massive vulnerability, isn't it?
It is the critical pivot point.
Because once that chemical anesthetic wears off, the relationship's actual underlying architecture is exposed to the elements for the very first time.
Yes. And the timing is almost a cruel joke.
Oh, totally. Because right at the exact moment this bare structure becomes visible, life usually starts demanding exponentially more of it.
Right. And here we are looking at the shift from organic architecture to intentional architecture.
Okay, let's break that down. Organic versus intentional.
During the inseparable phase, all intimacy is purely organic. It requires absolutely zero mechanical effort to sustain.
Because the drugs are doing the work.
Exactly. You have deep, hour-long conversations because the dopamine is driving you to. You spend every weekend together because you are magnetically drawn to each other.
You don't have to schedule connection time when your brain is actively treating the other person like a literal survival requirement.
And the fatal error couples make is equating this spontaneous intimacy with sustainable infrastructure.
They think the magic will just last forever on its own.
They assume that because maintaining the connection was effortless in the honeymoon suite, it's going to remain effortless in the trenches of daily life.
Which brings us to what Disu calls the transition failure.
Yes, because life naturally scales up. Careers demand more of your mental RAM. Mortgages arrive. Maybe children enter the perimeter.
And suddenly your free time completely vanishes. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, where?
Because applying words like engineered structure, mechanical effort, or infrastructure to a romantic relationship sounds incredibly clinical.
It does sound a bit cold, yeah.
Maybe even depressing to some people. I mean, we're talking about love, not optimizing a supply chain or pouring concrete for a bridge.
Right.
Doesn't engineering your connection just inherently kill the romance?
It feels that way because we are deeply culturally conditioned to believe that romance must be spontaneous to be authentic.
Like the movie version of love. If you have to put it on a calendar, the magic is dead.
Exactly. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, relying on spontaneous, organic romance when you are managing a household, demanding careers, and toddlers.
It's a recipe for absolute collapse.
It really is. You are never going to spontaneously find 3 free hours on a Tuesday.
No, definitely not.
So if you don't actively transition that organic garden into an engineered structure, the daily grind will completely crowd out your connection.
So when you say engineered structure, you mean explicit boundaries, deliberate resource allocation, scheduled maintenance?
Yes. The engineered structure is actually the only thing that protects the romance from being crushed by everyday life.
So you're saying the engineered structure is like a greenhouse. It keeps the delicate organic garden alive when the harsh winter of real life actually hits.
That's a great way to put it. Without the greenhouse, the garden freezes. You can't just hope for good weather year-round.
Okay, let's look at the scenario where a couple fails to build that greenhouse. The anesthetic wears off, life scales up, and the pressure starts mounting.
This drops us into what the notes call stage 1 decay.
But what does that actually look like? Because we know it's not usually explosive arguments right out of the gate.
No, it's much quieter than that.
So how does the friction silently poison the well before anyone even realizes the water is bad?
It happens in the shadows, inside what the framework calls the subterranean ledger.
The subterranean ledger. That sounds ominous.
It is. Before you get to the explosive arguments, friction starts silently through 3 specific, highly common microfailures.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first microfailure is the peace compromise, and it's driven by a fear of the ripple effect.
So if you're listening right now, think about the last time your partner did something that genuinely bothered you.
Like maybe they made a unilateral financial decision, or they suddenly started phoning it in on household responsibilities.
But you chose to say absolutely nothing. You probably thought you were being the bigger person or just the easygoing partner.
But in reality, in that exact moment, your brain ran a rapid cost-benefit analysis.
You felt the sting of the crossed boundary.
Right, but you thought, if I bring this up right now, we're going to get into a fight. He'll get defensive, she'll bring up that thing from last week.
It will ruin our whole weekend, so you just swallow it.
And the structural deficit here is choosing artificial peace over authentic alignment.
Wow. Artificial peace. You avoid the immediate fight, but you just ingested a toxic asset,
And you buried it deep in your subterranean ledger.
which leads directly into the second microfailure, cognitive dismissal, or what the notes refer to as the am I being too sensitive loop.
This one is insidious. It goes beyond just avoiding a fight. It messes with your own internal reality.
It's like profound self-gaslighting, isn't it?
It really is. Let's say a partner is experiencing real emotional starvation. They feel neglected or unseen for weeks.
But instead of bringing it up and filing a maintenance report, they don't trust their own internal dashboard.
Exactly. They start making excuses for the relationship's structural failure. They tell themselves, I'm just tired from work, or they're under so much stress right now, I'm just being needy.
They talk themselves out of their own valid need for connection. So that microcrack just stays wide open, oxidizing.
And because no maintenance report is filed, the partner assumes everything is fine. Meanwhile, the wounded party is slowly bleeding out.
Which seamlessly transitions into the third microfailure, which honestly might be the most destructive.
Assumed telepathy, otherwise known as the expectation trap.
The classic if you really loved me, you would just no test.
It's an impossible trap, and it stems directly from the memory of the inseparable phase.
Because back then, they did know.
Right. In that early phase, because of the hyperfocus provided by dopamine, partners often do anticipate each other's needs.
But years later, a partner falls into the trap of believing that this mind reading should be permanent.
Imagine one partner is completely overwhelmed with the kids in the house. They are visibly stressed, sighing loudly, slamming cabinet doors.
They're setting up a test.
Exactly. They think if my spouse truly loves me, they will see I am drowning and step in to help without me having to explicitly ask.
And what happens? The spouse, who is probably also exhausted, just walks through the kitchen, grabs a snack, and goes to the other room.
Completely oblivious to the test they just failed.
The wounded partner feels a profound sense of rejection. They don't just feel unsupported, they feel unloved.
And they quietly open an unappreciated file in that subterranean ledger.
They didn't communicate a need, they expected telepathy, and when it failed, they logged a grievance.
It's a devastating cycle.
It reminds me of the concept of technical debt in a software startup.
Oh, that's an interesting comparison.
Yeah. A developer is facing a tight launch deadline, so they see a tiny bug in the code, but they ignore it to ship the app faster. They figure they'll patch it later.
But they never do.
Right. And a year later, that one line of bad code, that one swallowed grievance, interacts with a new feature, and suddenly the entire system crashes.
The psychology driving these microfailures, especially the peace compromise, is rooted in a basic survival instinct to avoid conflict.
Sure, nobody likes to fight.
But attempting to not rock the boat by hoarding this unvoiced friction is the equivalent of installing a bomb under your own floorboards.
That friction doesn't evaporate just because you ignored it. It oxidizes into deep stage 2 resentment.
And that is terrifying because so many of us are actively installing those bombs while patting ourselves on the back for being low maintenance.
Wow, yeah. We've diagnosed the structural deficits, we know the house is built on a fault line, and the subterranean ledger is filling up with toxic assets.
So the question is, what do we do about it?
Exactly. How do we intercept this stage 1 decay before it hits that explosive stage 2?
The solution outlined in Disu's work is the architect's interception blueprint.
The blueprint, okay.
Since spontaneous intimacy and organic communication are gone, a couple has to manually install automated diagnostic check-ins.
You have to force the structure to regulate itself.
Yes. And the foundation of this is standard operating procedure number 1, the no hoarding rule.
The no hoarding rule. This implies that swallowing a grievance isn't just a personal choice, it's actual relational sabotage.
That's exactly how it's framed.
So how does the no hoarding rule work in practice?
It operates on a strict 48-hour window. If a partner does something that hurts you, irritates you, or isolates you, You have exactly 48 hours to bring it to the blueprint table.
Okay, a 48-hour timer.
But there is a critical caveat here. You must communicate it using stable zero language.
Stable zero language, meaning completely emotionally regulated, like no yelling, no sarcasm.
There's neutral, observable facts.
Yeah.
You say, when you made that financial decision without consulting me, I felt devalued.
You don't say, you always do whatever you want and you don't care about me.
Exactly. You bring the specific issue to the table cleanly. But here's the kicker.
What's the kicker?
If you do not bring the grievance up within those 48 hours, you must legally delete it from your mind.
Legally delete it.
Yes, you forfeit the right to use it. You cannot suddenly bring it up 6 months later during a totally unrelated argument about doing the dishes.
So what does this all mean? Let's ground this in reality for a second. Is it actually realistic to force a human being to legally delete a genuine hurt just because a 48-hour timer went off?
It sounds impossible, I know.
I mean, we aren't servers that can just wipe a hard drive. People hold on to things. How does someone just magically let a grievance go because the clock ran out?
This raises an important question about the difference between suppressing emotions and forcing accountability.
Okay, walk me through that.
The 48-hour rule is not designed to make you swallow deep, damaging trauma. If something is truly significant, you won't forget it, and the rule forces you to bring it up while it's fresh.
Rather than letting it fester in the ledger.
Exactly. The real purpose of the rule is to eliminate the toxic habit of weaponizing minor mistakes.
Ah, so it forces a real-time evaluation.
Right. It forces you to ask, is this annoyance actually important enough to bring up right now and have a difficult conversation about?
And if you decide it's not worth the uncomfortable conversation, you have to acknowledge that it's also not worth holding onto as ammunition.
You are making a conscious executive decision to let it go, rather than quietly adding it to the subterranean ledger.
It completely diffuses the bomb before it's even built.
And to facilitate this kind of open communication, the framework introduces SOP2.
Which is what?
Couples have to shift their daily logistical check-ins from asking, how was your day, to asking, where is your leak?
Because how was your day is a trap. If I ask you how your day was, what am I actually going to get?
You're going to get what the notes classify as level 3 logistical answers.
Like, good, busy, fine.
Traffic was bad, yeah.
Yeah.
These are surface-level data points that keep couples completely blind to the actual structural integrity of the relationship.
Because you can have a fine day at work while simultaneously harboring immense resentment towards your partner.
Exactly. You have to upgrade your diagnostic vocabulary to what's called a level 4 check-in.
How does a level 4 check-in physically sound different?
It requires a scheduled, dedicated time, usually weekly, where the couple sits down without distractions, and you explicitly ask a set of diagnostic questions. Like, is there any unvoiced friction sitting in your ledger from this week?
Or did I cross a boundary that we need to discuss?
Did I ignore a need? Or the most challenging one, did I give you my leftovers anywhere this week?
Oh, wow. Asking, did I give you my leftovers, completely changes the dynamic.
It does. It requires so much vulnerability.
It's not defensive at all. It's actively looking for the crack in the foundation so you can seal it together. It fundamentally alters how you approach the partnership.
It's about being on the same team.
The mentor summary of this entire Dessous framework seems to boil down to this. The true price of an unbreakable bond is having the courage to face small, uncomfortable alignments today, so you never have to face a catastrophic collapse tomorrow.
Well said.
It's taking the hit on a minor, awkward 10-minute conversation on a Tuesday night using stable zero language, so you don't end up in divorce court 5 years later wondering what happened.
And for you listening right now, whether you are decades into a long-term marriage, just navigating the early stages of a new relationship, or simply fascinated by the mechanics of human connection.
This applies to everyone.
It does. This framework completely shatters the myth of chemistry. Chemistry gets you in the door.
It gives you the anesthetic season so you don't immediately run away.
But effort, deliberate, intentional, scheduled effort, is the only thing that actually builds the house you can live in long term.
We spend so much of our lives chasing the ease of the organic garden, hoping it just magically sustains itself, instead of learning how to build the greenhouse.
We really do.
But as we wrap up, it leaves me with one final provocative thought that I want you, the listener, to explore on your own.
Oh, what's that?
Well, if the honeymoon phase is essentially just a neurochemical trick, a temporary biological hack designed to glue us together just long enough to build a real, lasting infrastructure,
Right.
what happens if we try to hack the system back?
Hack it back.
Yeah, like once that engineered structure is fully in place, highly operational, and perfectly maintained, well, can a couple actively try to recreate that initial chemical cocktail?
That is an amazing question.
Can you take a structurally sound relationship and reverse engineer your way back to a romantic startup, putting those rose-colored glasses back on just for fun?
I love that idea.
It's definitely something to mull over the next time you find yourself looking at the blueprints of your own relationships. Until next time.
Just before you do, JBYD, navigating love at every stage. Thank you for your time today. I hope you have picked up a wisdom or two to help in your relationship from today's video. There are more JBYD videos like this on the channel that looks at relationships from an unusual, different, and practical perspective. Please like, comment, and share the video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to help us reach more people. For more information or a no-obligation chat, visit www.justbeforeyoudo.com. Thank you.